Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with random reviews from the Overflow room. And today, as we move backwards through the letter H, we have Arthur Honegger, whatever you want to call him. He was a Swiss composer, but he's a French composer, as a Swiss composer, known as a member of Les Six. The six, the wacky six. He was the most serious and least frivolous of them all, for sure. There were a bunch of other people in there that nobody cares about, but there was Poulenc, of course, and Auric, and, Chaminade, and people like that. And, he was really, really a good composer. He wrote a lot of music. And it's gripping music. He had a very distinctive sound, a sort of rugged, harmonically gnarly sometimes. Sometimes he could be a little jazzy, but he hangs on to the edge of the repertoire by his, the skin of his fingernails, by his cuticles. And he really deserves a lot more play than he gets. He's been very well served on disc, but live, you almost never see him performed. At least I haven't, and I really wish I could go see all the symphonies and things. They're really good works, and he was fun. He wrote some fabulous film music, like, for example, this thing, Crime and Punishment, L'Idée, Farinette, Le Déserteur, Le Grand Barrage, the Slovak Radio Symphony under Adriano, on Marco Polo. He did a lot of work in film, and he was a marvelous composer of film music. So these are fun and definitely worth hearing. I mean, he was really, really good at that stuff. Then we've got, his oratorios. These are wonderful. King David. That, when I was in high school, Honegger's King David, Le Roi David, it was popular for 10 minutes. I mean, people talked about it. It got played a bit. It had a lot of performances, and now it seems to have vanished. It's absolutely wonderful and so much fun. And here is this fabulous performance with Maurice Abravanel and the Utah Symphony on Vanguard, with Natanya Davrath, who's amazing, soprano, and Madeline Mio as the Witch of Endor. Darius Mio's wife, and Marvin Sorensen, Gene Preston, Marshall Singer is the narrator. I mean, it's just great, absolutely great. And so is Judith, which has an En Martineau in it. That's lots of fun. And here we have Natanya Davrath as Judith, and Blanche Christensen, and then Madeline Mio as the narrator. And you also get Mio's La Création du Monde on the same disc. Oh, these are great, these Abravanel discs on Vanguard. Oh, we need an Abravanel Vanguard box. God knows where it is or who has it now. But these are wonderful works, these oratorios, and they deserve all of the attention we can give them. Then we've got this weird disc on Gallo. I mean, there were just works coming out in the past few decades that nobody even knew existed, or I didn't know that they existed, or they were just names. We didn't know that they were, ever going to be performed. We have this thing, Symphonie Chorégraphique, a danced symphony from 1921 called Skating Rink. Yeah, it's a really gnarly skating rink. There's some major accidents and slips and falls on this skating rink. Then we've got L'Idée, film music, and the Concerto for Piano and Orchestra of 1924, Concertino, pardon me, it's only 10 minutes long. And so these were recorded in, 1988, thank God for Skating Rink, and L'Idée was 1992, but the Concertino was 1953. Various people performing, and we don't need to get into the details. It's on the Gallo label. The reason we don't need to get into the details is because it's not like we've got lots of choice. Actually, I think there's another recording of Skating Rink since, but the bottom line was, back in the day, if you collected Honegger, as I did, you just scrapped around and got whatever you could get. You didn't care who was doing it. So I got this, and it was okay. It was interesting. Then we have this lovely Jean Fournet Denon disc containing his rugby movement symphonique, the Pacific 231, the choo-choo train, his most famous work. The Concerto da Camera, which is lovely. The Pastoral d'été tone poem, Summer Pastoral. It's just beautiful. And he did wonderful, wonderful sort of diaphanous pastoral music because the level of dissonance was somewhat high, which gave it this bittersweet, wonderful, tangy, bittersweet quality. It had the pastoral quality, of course, that sort of mellow, mellifluous, nature-scented thing, but the harmonies were so interesting. They were sort of jazz and blues harmonies. It's really great. And the Symphonie Liturgique, his third symphony, which has that crushing finale that's absolutely devastatingly, fabulously apocalyptic. Also is the first movement, for that matter. Great stuff. That's a good record, actually, this Den on disc. And then there's this thing. Oh, Charles Munch doing Honegger on EMI from his return after he left the Boston Symphony. He went back and took over the Orchestre de Paris at the time when it was getting hopped up. You've got the Ravel Piano Concerto in G with Nicole Henriot Schweitzer, who he worked with also in Boston, and Honegger's Second Symphony for strings, with possibly a trumpet at the end, if you want to throw that in there. And then we've got this thing, Musical Heritage Society reissue of an EMI L'Esprit de France, Pacific 231, Rugby, Pastoral d'été, and the Christmas Cantata, which is also just a wonderful work with Jean Martinon. This, of course, is in that big Martinon Erato box now. But back in the day, this was what we had to deal with. We got it as we could get it. And this was licensed to Musical Heritage Society. Then there's this wonderful Seiji Ozawa recording with Martha Keller, George Wilson, and Pierre-Marie Escourou of Jeanne d'Arc au Boucher, Joan of Arc at the stake. Holy mackerel. Yeah, this is the one that's got the On Martineau. Yeah, in it. It's a poem by Paul Claudel, who worked closely with Honegger at a bunch of things. Françoise Paulet is also in here. Michel Camon, Natalie Stutzmann, who is now a marvelous conductor in Atlanta. She sings Catherine. And Seiji Ozawa, Orchestre Nationale de France on DG. How long do you think this lasted in the catalog? 12 seconds? 8 seconds? Take your pick. It was great. And then there's this classic, one of Karajan's greatest recordings, Honegger's Second and Third Symphonies, coupled to Stravinsky's Concerto in D for String Orchestra, one of the driest and least interesting works that ever was emitted from the human brain. But in any case, Karajan played the bejesus out of these pieces. And this was the archive CD, archive.com CD reissue, custom pressing thing, because you couldn't get it separately back in the day. So there you go. Honegger. We've got more Honegger to come. Get ready. Actually, got quite a bit, which he's been recorded, like I said, very, very well. The music is not well known, but, well, we're going to work on that, aren't we? So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.